Nick Kroll, welcome to the IMDb show. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I feel great. I'm excited to be here.
We're here to talk about one thing, and that's your big mouth.
Thank you.
This show is set in the past puberty. Explain to everyone at home what's Big Mouth all about, and good luck with this one, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Big Mouth is based on me and my best friend from childhood, Andrew Goldberg, about us at that time in life when we were going through puberty. It was inspired by that period of time, and we filled in the world with a bunch of people or characters that we either were familiar to us or that, friends of ours. But it's really a show let me start again. Just a quick, slight correction.
We're live. So
this is live?
This is super, no, you
This is so exciting.
Go ahead.
This is so exciting. This is like Saturday Night Live. The one slight correction is that it is based on us from the past, but it's a current day show. It just feels slightly nostalgic in its delivery. So let me start again. Okay, here we go. Big Mouth is based on me and my best friend from childhood, Andrew Goldberg, who ended up becoming a writer for Family Guy. And
so he's rich.
He got in there late. That's why we got to make this stupid show. And Netflix isn't making us rich, guys. I mean, we love what a wonderful streaming service it is, but there's no back end. Let's get into it. Let's get into the mechanics of back end and points. I think that's what the IMDb audience is most interested in.
It's really odd that you came in here and asked me for money.
Yeah, I know. Well, to park on Ventura, I'm not going to reveal exactly where you are, but it's somewhere on Ventura Boulevard.
Right.
So,
near the In-N-Out.
Yeah, it's near the In-N-Out and even closer to the Fat Burger. So Big Mouth is a show about two kids trying to get into a Fat Burger after it closes and eating hamburgers and watching a mealy tomato fall out of the burger and into their lap. But truthfully, the truth is that Big Mouth is the mealy tomato that is puberty. It's wet, it's gross, it's slippery, but pretty delicious. It's a show about me and my best friend Andrew Goldberg from childhood, and it's about us going through puberty. One boy who has hit puberty hard and fast and early, and one boy who is maybe going a little slower through puberty. I was the slower.
Right.
I think the IMDb audience wants to know when I got my first pubic hair. It was high school.
It's funny, that was one of the most trending topics when we told everyone that you were coming in.
When did he get his first pubes?
Yeah.
My pubes on season 2 are voiced by Jack McBrayer and Craig Robinson.
Okay.
Who are, of course, you'd always see them together.
Yeah, when I imagine your pubes, I think Craig Robinson.
Yeah, I think Craig Robinson.
Which I do on occasion.
I know. Look, we've all imagined my pubes, and I just had the ability to cast them, and I get to cast Craig Robinson and Jack McBrayer.
You think a lot of yourself.
I do. I've heard it very, very much so. And I think in the first episode of season 2, Nick has 2 pubes, and he loses one of them.
Tragic.
So tune in to Big Mouth season 2 to find out which of Nick's pubes will survive the first episode.
Listen, I feel like we could riff on puberty forever, but that's the thing, right? What is it about puberty that makes it so funny?
I think what makes puberty a great subject matter for a show is that it's incredibly awkward, but it's also the stakes are very high. It's very funny because things are changing and kids don't know what's going on with their bodies and they're being affected by all these forces. And what we did on the show, the reason I think we made it animated was it allowed us to have things like the Hormone Monster.
Love the Hormone Monster.
And I think when Andrew and my partners Mark and Jen came to me with the idea for the show, we were talking, they're like, and we thought Andrew should have some sort of like a hormone monster. And I immediately said, touch yourself, Andrew. And it became it was like, oh, right. Because you have these forces when you're going through puberty that feel like they're coming from outside of you. And because your body's changing, your emotions and desires are changing, as well as your physical body. And so having the hormone monsters as a physical manifestation of that has been incredibly useful. And I voiced one of the hormone monsters, and the deeply untalented Maya Rudolph voices the other one.
This hack.
It's a struggle to work with her every day, and that's why I came here to talk to the IMDb audience about what a nightmare Maya Rudolph is.
Throw her under a bus.
Not only is she a bad person, a terrible mother, she has no talent, she has no range, and she has no ability to change her voice and sing and handle every comedic beat perfectly.
I mean, that's the thing. You have an amazing array of voiceover cast on this show.
Yes.
I mean, the list is John Mulaney, Fred Armisen, Jenny Slate, Maya Rudolph, Jordan Peele, so many. This is a show that obviously you were there from its inception, you created it, it means a great deal to you and your future. How did you bag all of these guys? Is that you pulling old school favors?
I'm one of the biggest cocaine dealers in Los Angeles.
I have heard that, and I didn't want to bring it up.
No. I'd love for the audience to know. I'm
then.
one of the biggest cocaine dealers in Los Angeles, and everyone on the show has a deep and very pervasive addiction to cocaine.
Right.
And I don't feel like I'm outing anyone because I think all of these folks will talk about it, and this is what the IMDb audience wants to know.
Who's been your number one customer out of all of them?
Oh, geez. Well, let's see. Mulaney.
He's cokey.
Mulaney is. That's why he's so thin. You know what I mean? That's why he maintains that sort of thin stature. But it's hard because everyone's doing so much coke when we're recording that everyone's nasal cavities have just collapsed, and it's sort of that they have to swallow before they start talking again. And that's a shout out to Tom Arnold.
Yeah.
But the truth is, all the cast members on the show are people that I have been friends with. That's one of the things I really do love about the show more than anything is they're all people that I've known at various stages of my life. Andrew, I've known, my co-creator, since first grade.
Okay.
John Mulaney and I went to college together. Jenny Slate I met in my very early days of doing stand-up in New York. Jesse Klein as well. Jason Mantzoukas I also met in my very early days of doing improv in New York. Jordan Peele I gave the idea for Get Out to.
And I heard you wrote it as well.
I ghost wrote it.
Right.
He didn't want.
It's weird that he didn't thank you at the
No,
Oscars.
he didn't. He didn't even come close to thanking me. Well, that's what when you're a ghostwriter for a guy like Jordan or Lady Bird. When I ghost wrote that, I don't need that credit.
No, of course.
Just to know that an audience enjoys my work and that I got per diem to write it.
Each episode in Big Mouth focuses on an embarrassing, awkward moment through puberty. Mm-hmm. How much of the storylines are ripped from your own personal life?
An unfortunate amount
Really?
Are ripped from my life and Andrew's life and other friends. Yeah, it's we have these sort of tentpole ideas, and they function in various ways. So there are events like I got pantsed as a child.
See, I only saw that in shows growing up.
Yeah.
But that's an actual thing.
Oh,
Here
I
in
saw
America,
that
you
very
get
much in
pantsed.
my own real life.
Who pantsed you? Call them out.
A woman, now a woman, at the time a child, named Jenny. I'll just say her first name. A lovely woman now, a terrible child. Now she pantsed me, and I was wearing silk boxer shorts, and those slid right down too. So I got pants in front of this girl Lizzie, who was my childhood crush, and it was very traumatic. And now I'm a comedian, and then so we had stuff like that. In season 2, we also have a moment where Andrew gets his upper lip waxed, which his
he's got
father,
peach fuzz,
he's
right.
got that little,
He's
got that little stash that boys get, and that really happened. Andrew's father made his mother wax his upper lip, and so for years, Andrew could grow a full beard. Andrew could grow in 8th grade. Andrew could grow at least this amount of facial hair without blinking an eye, but he could grow nothing on his upper lip because they had waxed it to the roots, and we used to call it the reverse Hitler.
Okay.
And this is for the IMDb audience out there. So,
the Jewish one.
Yeah. So those are ripped from the headlines of our lives, and a bunch of other storylines, and also stuff. I mean, the interesting thing about puberty is that the stuff that happens to you in that time is so foundational and has such a long-term effect on the person you become. So there are things that I'm experiencing as a grown man that I'm still patterns that you're repeating, or things that you like or are interested in, and so much of that is built from that foundation of puberty, both good and bad, largely bad. And so there are things that I'm still dealing with that I can bring up in my character of Nick as a 13-year-old that are still issues for me now.
Let's do this. You gave us a little sneak peek at the Hormone Monster. Let's talk about some of the characters on this show.
Great.
You voiced like about 12 of them or something like that, an ever-growing number.
Yes.
Some other great characters. Talk me through some of your favorites.
I voiced Nick and Coach Steve and the Coach Hormone Monster. There's a scene in the first episode because I just rewatched it to be prepared. To be here,
Wait,
and it
so you
was.
rewatched your own work.
I rewatched my own
for
work,
this.
just to be prepared to compliment myself. And there's a scene where Nick, Steve, and Coach Steve and the Coach Hormone Monster are all in the scene, and it's very weird.
Because you're switching.
Because I'm like,
in between.
hey,
each of
Coach
them.
Steve. He's like, oh, hey, Nick, and then Coach Hormone's, it's just like this very weird intersection of all the three personalities.
So when you're recording a scene like that, are you switching instantaneously between the characters, or are you recording it bit by bit?
We'll record every scene all the way through, and if I'm voicing various characters, I'll do that all at once, and then we'll go in line by line. But I also do Lola, who gets into a romantic relationship this season with one of our characters, which is very exciting. And then I do a bunch of other voices that are going to escape me right now. But we have some great guest stars on season 2 in addition to our full cast.
Who's coming?
David Thewlis.
Okay.
Who many people would know as the villain in Fargo season 3. He's also the bad guy in Wonder Woman and Harry Potter films, and is crazy talented. And we were watching Fargo season 3 when we were writing this character called the Shame Wizard. And the Shame Wizard is a big new character for season 2 because in addition to like the hormones that you start to feel during puberty, part and parcel with that is the shame that you begin to feel. I think a lot of people discover and really relish in shame in around puberty. So David Thewlis was kind enough to join us for the show. And then we also have Gina Rodriguez, who's an incredibly talented actor. And she came in to play a new character who is the first girl, or who's a girl who all of a sudden, in middle school, there's those like girls who like one day show up the next day and they have boobs.
Yeah.
And it throws everyone into a tizzy. The boys are fascinated, obsessed with it. The girls oftentimes, it starts to make them feel and question what's happening with their own body or what's not happening with it. And then it really becomes about what happens to that girl. The boys sometimes begin to like sexualize her in a way that she might not be ready for, or maybe she's interested in, or maybe not. And it sort of devolves and moves along throughout the season, and we get into some stuff like slut shaming, which I'm a big proponent of, and I want to be on record on television as saying that, and on the IMDb page. Not only am I Los Angeles' biggest cocaine dealer, I also support slut shaming.
Thank you.
Have I handled that well?
Yeah,
have I done that right?
Thanks for clarifying.
Is my publicist
your
happy
publicist
with this?
right now
Did
just
I nail
broke
that?
out in a rash.
Am I doing this right? Am I doing great on this?
You're doing
Great.
a phenomenal
Great.
job. The publicist out there is having a panic attack.
Great.
Lock the door. Listen, this show is presented.
I'm sorry, I got Ronan Farrow on the phone real quick. Let me just take this.
So soon?
Yeah.
He was just here yesterday, weirdly.
Yeah.
The show's presented, for adults. It's been hit with controversy for season 1. I love that it was called Vulgar and Gross. And this quote came out saying, it's a sad example of how far the entertainment industry has fallen from respecting basic decency.
Yeah.
I'm happy you don't respect basic decency.
Yeah.
How did this criticism impact you moving on to season 2?
It impacted me so little. On such a deep and profound level, it was so easy to ignore. I mean, what was interesting is before season 1 came out, you know what? I'm not even going to court the folks. So I'm just going to move on from what I was about to say.
Go on.
I think on the surface, it's a show that has some real vulgarity. It's very crass. But what I really loved about how the show was received in season 1 and hopefully in season 2 was that most people saw it's a very dirty, very big, hard joke show. But right underneath that is a lot of heart and sweetness and emotional honesty. And we're incredibly conscious when we're making the show that it's as funny as it can be, but also that there are maybe kids watching it, and that the messages that we're putting out there are the healthiest ones we can put out there about sexuality, about gender, about the issues that people are going through, especially at that age. And one of the things that I really worked hard, we wanted to get across was, I think one of the scariest and most tricky things about puberty is that kids feel really alone. Because you feel like you're the only one going through it. You don't know how to talk to people about what's happening to you. And that this show is an example of everybody goes through puberty. Everybody has these experiences. And hopefully they're a little less scary knowing that other people have gone through it. And hopefully that, some of the characters and things that we're talking about in the show give kids a platform and vocabulary to talk to each other or talk to their parents or educators about what's happening to them, and to demystify a lot of it, because I think that's partly what's so painful and awkward about that time in life.
What I love about it is all those things you went and said, it actually makes it easy to talk about with other people. They're not going through it alone. I think what I love about it the most is the fact that it is unapologetically fun and goes all the way in one direction. You know what you're getting from the moment you start watching. What is it about the fact that you've picked animation as your platform for this kind of subject matter? What can you get away What can you get away with animation for comedy? Phrase that question.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I'll answer it with a question inside of it,
and I'll do a pickup later.
Yeah. Being able to use animation as a means to tell these stories is incredibly useful for any number of reasons. One, because I think when you're seeing the awkwardness in live action of what it's like to be that age, it's so heart-wrenching. I will shout out my friend Bo Burnham, who made the movie 8th Grade, which is so beautifully done and funny and touching and awkward and all those things. And I went and saw it at a middle school screening, and I was incredibly impressed by how well he handled it and captured that moment in time. And as someone who's thinking and spending a lot of time in that space, but I was also struck watching it live action how cringeworthy it is to watch actual
kids doing that, right?
And I think it was perfect for the movie he made in the medium, and it also made me very grateful that in an animated show we're able to do a lot of those similar things in similar world, but not have the pain of watching kids at that age. The other advantage, one of the other advantages of doing animation is that our kids can go through puberty animated and stay that age. When you're doing a TV show like The Wonder Years, which was a real influence on us. Mark Levin, one of my co-creators, was a writer on The Wonder Years. You only have a few years before Fred Savage goes ahead and hits that puberty, and he hasn't worked a day since. I hate Fred Savage so much.
What?
I hate Fred Savage, and I want the audience to know that. And I'll slut shame Fred Savage on the air after I deal him cocaine.
Something else, as we move off the topic of Big Mouth, we stay in the animated world. Addams Family.
Yeah.
This is big. I was such a fan of the black and white old show, even the modern movies that kind of came out.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've been able to touch into that. Tell me about your role. I hear Uncle Fester.
I am going to be Uncle Fester in the
That's
Addams
so cool.
Family. Yeah, that was very exciting. I'm similarly a fan of the various incarnations of the show, and I'm working with my dear friend who
Do you know any of these people that you say?
Oscar Isaac. Yeah, Oscar Isaac. I do know. I made a movie with him.
Yeah, you did Operation Finale.
Yes, about the capture of Adolf Eichmann.
With Sir Ben Kingsley.
Kingsley.
Nicely done.
And it's so funny. The movie is hilarious. Sir Ben and I have started a sketch group together. And
did you and him like?
He played it. Sir Ben played it like he was Adolf Eichmann up top. But as the movie went forward and his role amongst our group in the film changed, he changed and warmed up, and he was amazing. I mean, he came to the table read for that movie off book. Like, he did not look at his script once at the table read the day before we started the movie. And I was like hungover and like looking for tiny waters and dense brownies. And he was amazing. But Oscar Isaac is in the Addams Family. He plays Gomez. My sparring partner, Charlize Theron, is in it. She and I just do like sort of Brazilian style jiu-jitsu together. Chloe Grace Moretz, and Finn Wolfhard, who's one of the kids on Stranger Things, who I deal cocaine to.
I heard he's actually one of the biggest.
He's one of the biggest. He's one of the greats. Yeah. He's one of the greats in the cocaine community. We can get that one, I guess.
Is any of this usable?
Is any of this usable? Sure. I think we can use it.
We're gonna see.
But no, and Bette Midler is in it. Bette Midler is
for real,
grandma.
she's in it.
She's for real in it. And the guy who's directing it, Conrad Vernon, was one of the directors. He and his partner directed Sausage Party, the Seth Rogen animated film that I was also in.
So wait, are you going animation with this one, or is it?
It's animation.
Okay.
Yes.
But with a real serious list of actors doing voiceover work, and you.
And me.
Yeah.
And a very serious actor.
But that is awesome. Are you in a room with them when you're doing this work? Or?
No, oftentimes no. It's largely alone, and then sometimes you come together. Depends. We try to do on Big Mouth because of the nature of the show and the comedy. Whenever we can, we record together. Partly because, again, these are all people who I've known and worked with for a long, long time. And whenever we perform together, we usually find a few new moments in improv. You have between John, Jenny, Jesse, Jason, every other J, Fred, Maya. It's every one of those people is also a writer. And we take advantage of their comedic brains as well as their voice talents. But also, we try to get as much of the naturalistic vibe as possible.
Very quickly, last thing before we move on. Why do you think so many amazing names, Bette Midler, Oscar Isaac, yourself, are stepping on board in animation for the Addams Family? Is that just pure fandom?
I think people are a fan of that series and that show, and I think animation is such a sweet payday.
Oh, right.
Bottom line is, it's all about that money.
Right.
Get that kid money. Get that kids go to the movie theaters to watch animated film money. I don't even know what I'm saying. They have to phonetically spell it out because I will not pay attention.
We'll find an acronym that works with that.
Exactly,
that ends with money.
Get that money.
Listen, the trials of growing up is a popular subject for everybody. We all go through it. Mm-hmm. You've grown up a very normal, balanced human being. I gotta ask you, what were your top 3 films that influenced your not so wonder years? Let's start at 3.
Okay, let's see. Well, I was supposed to think of this before I came in here, and now I'm going to struggle my way through it.
That's right, we're here with you.
Well, the movie that Andrew and I watched every day after school for like a full year was Wayne's World, which is older than the kids on Big Mouth, but it was like 2 best friends who are super tight, who have created their own language and their own world. And Andrew and I literally watched that movie every day.
I always wonder how old Wayne and Garth are meant to be in that.
It's a very good question. I have no idea. Early 20s, maybe?
Are they meant to be younger? But it's like the cast of Friends. In Friends, they're meant to be way younger than they actually were.
Right. I don't
never figure that out.
I don't know. I think in the case of, I think part of it is that it's like, oh, these 2 guys are still living in their parents' home. They're older. They shouldn't be. And there's that youthful quality. But that movie really resonated with both Andrew and I in a big way. Another movie that we watched, I remember specifically watching with him at my house, and you can see its fingerprints all over Big Mouth, is All That Jazz. The Bob Fosse movie starring Roy Scheider about, the choreographer and director Bob Fosse. But I literally have a very clear memory of being with Andrew, playing like Sega Genesis. My brother had a TV in his room. We would play Sega Genesis in his room. One time we turned off Sega and we were watching TV, and I didn't have cable. And I didn't have IMDb.com, which is the best place for any information you need about entertainment. But I did see, we turned on Channel 13 in my town, which was PBS.
Okay.
And this movie came on, and there were boobs And I had never seen boobs on regular television because I didn't have cable.
I like how you say boobs. Like it's got 4 O's.
Boobs. But it was that thing, and we were like, what's this boobs? And it turned out to be All That Jazz. So there's these 2 13-year-old boys in like the early 90s watching, a 1970s like weird, surrealist, and like anti-narrative, beautiful movie. And but that movie really did resonate with me from that point on, both aesthetically and storytelling wise, and performatively, and using music as a means to tell stories, which we do in Big Mouth quite a bit. And then it also, All That Jazz had a pretty profound effect on Oh Hello, which John Mulaney and I did on Broadway. Our Oh Hello poster from Broadway is almost a complete ripoff of the All That Jazz, vibe.
Okay, in at number 1.
In at number 1. I watched all of those. How about a movie called The Breakfast Club, which I think is all those John Hughes movies. I think they have ended up on different levels of staying relevant or feeling somewhat outdated in certain cases. Molly Ringwald wrote an interesting article about her experience being in those movies and what of those concepts and feelings, how they feel now, how well they've aged or not. But watching The Breakfast Club, and you see these 5 different kinds of kids come together in one space and figure out who they are in the grander world and who they are on that day in that room, had a real effect on me, and sort of archetypes and where they hold up and where they break down, and also just really funny, snappy dialogue. So that movie was a big deal for me.
Yeah. On that note,
listen,
here we actually, you have a lot of fans on Twitter for a lot of reasons, over 1 million in fact, and more I think after this interview airs. We asked them a question that they wanted to ask you.
Yes.
And they're curious. You ready for your questions? All right. This is from the interweb. All right. At Sat Night Lives asks, if Coach Steve and Gil Faison were in a movie together, what would the plot be?
The plot of a Coach Steve and Gil Faison movie would be how do you open a door? Let me answer that again. What would the plot? Coach Steve and Gil Faison. I think the movie would be can you run a brush through either of their hair? How many combs they would break with their weird Brillo-y, gross hair. Those two together, that'd be quite a duo. It's crazy to think that Gil Faison would be the brains of that operation.
It's true. I also feel like every time Coach Steve did that, so much hair would come out. It would be one of those horrible moments.
Clumps of it.
Is he based on someone in your past?
We had a gym coach who was. All the characters in the show are, some might say, cartoonish.
Yeah.
But we had a coach at one point who was a very sweet guy. There's some basis. It's amazing. And Gil Faison is based off of a bowl of cream cheese.
Right, of course. The next question came from at Malibu Death.
All right.
Wants to know.
Malibu Death.
If you could guest star on any TV show, past or present, what would it be and who would you play? I'm a big fan of you and your work.
Oh, thank you.
That last bit was from me.
Oh, okay.
But there's your question. If you could guest star on any TV show, past or present, what would it be and who would you play?
I mean, I would love to be a guest star on Malibu Death. I think that sounds like a great show. It's about it's like a hospice building in Malibu where people go drop off loved ones who are about to die. And then they go to Jeffrey's on the water and have a drink, have a skinny girl margarita, or a Bloody Mary.
Because I mean, there's always like Malibu Promises, the rehab.
Yeah,
center.
no.
Malibu Death is going all the way
Malibu
in
Death
one
is
direction.
you go to Nobu, you eat a blowfish and get poisoned from it,
and you're done.
And then you like walk out onto the beach and then into the water.
The classy way.
The classy way, cinematic at golden hour.
Yeah.
The sun is setting. You're dying from a poisonous blowfish as you walk into the water and your clothes get heavy and then you bail. You're like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. And you walk back, but the clothes are so heavy that you can't. and then you watch like
Stop.
Steven Spielberg
Just
walk a
Stop.
golden retriever.
Just stop. And all in the while, the Nobu waitress is asking you, "Do you have any allergies?"
Yeah, the Nobu asking me, and then just looking over and being like, "Is that the rapper Future?"
Nick.
Yeah.
You know, this is.
How about this weird bruise? I don't know how I got this.
What is that?
Can we pan that? Can we get
please.
This? Can we get this
But
bruise?
you have to explain it.
I don't know. There's just like two little marks
No,
here.
but there is a rash that's out at the moment that's like really like.
Oh, I have
it
a
starts
yes.
off with 2 dots.
I have this. Yeah, this is spreading. This wasn't here at the beginning of the interview. It's spreading
But if
slowly.
you draw like a smiley face, that's a
Right here?
tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're good.
I gotta get a tattoo on the air. I gotta do it. I gotta get a tattoo
On the
air.
next episode of IMDb Boobs.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. We'd love to ask people what you guys are watching at home or out and about at the theaters. Let's get into your brain a little bit. What shows are you excited for, and what movies are you excited for?
I've been watching. I just recently finished Killing Eve.
Love that show.
Yeah, which is tremendous. Sandra Oh.
She's Asian.
She is. So that's my problem. And let's make sure to get this on air.
And that was an Emmy reference,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she was great on the Emmys. She's so crazy talented, and that show is so. It really defies kind of genre on some level.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of a thriller, but it's then really funny.
But there are no gags, so how is it funny?
Because
it is.
It is so funny. I mean, the performances are unbelievable. The writing is so sharp. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I think, wrote at least, I don't know if she wrote all of it, but wrote a ton of it, and is so. And I watched Killing Eve and then went back and watched Fleabag,
Okay.
which I had not seen, which I highly recommend. Who Phoebe Waller-Bridge stars in it as well as writes it, and it's just tremendous.
Love that show. Killing Eve is just a fantastic.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that new season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I also
Interesting, by the way, comedians playing hitmen and stuff like that with Bill Hader.
Yes.
There's a weird similarity of insanity with comedians.
You know,
that it
comedians, we
works.
just want to kill. You know what I mean? On stage, in real life, we're all murderers.
Blowfish.
OJ was a comedian.
He didn't do it.
He didn't. If he did, though, there's a book. I also, I just watched, I'm kind of behind the ball, but I watched End of the Fucking World,
Yeah.
which is another Netflix
Okay.
show, which I thought was terrific. Really smart and funny, and again, another show that kind of a little bit defies genre, in that it was it's very dark and weird, but also very sharp and funny and great performances.
And great title.
Yes. I also really like The Good Place on NBC. Let's not forget about network television. It's in its golden age.
I mean, we had Kristen Bell's been on the show, stars the amazing Ted Danson.
Yeah.
Just the premise of that show. What I loved about it when I was talking to her was season 1, at the end of it, you got duped. You were
Yeah.
completely, and so season 2 is a whole different story. Now season 3, it's like
Yeah.
3 different shows throughout 3 seasons.
Yeah,
and
they've
shows
done-
don't really do that very often.
No, I think Mike Schur, who created the show and who created Parks and Rec and worked at The Office before that, is just so smart and has done so much TV that he, I think, was very conscious of trying to do something that felt different and in a way that you hadn't seen in sort of a network sitcom space. I have not watched it, but I'm looking forward to watching Forever, starring Fred Armisen and Maya Rudolph, and who play a married couple on the show. And I'm not biased that they play a married couple. They play my parents on Big Mouth. That has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. You should be cut some kind of check from that. You
I mean,
created it.
between Amazon and Netflix, I want a goddamn house.
Talk to me about movies, because I know you do love film. What movies?
I'm such a cinephile.
Don't do that with your lip.
I'm such a cinephile. I love filmmaking.
What films coming out are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to seeing. I end up weirdly going to the movie theater and seeing documentaries because you gotta see them on the big screen. But I saw that Mr. Rogers documentary, which if you haven't cried, get on a plane and watch that Mr. Rogers documentary, and bring some Pedialyte to rehydrate because you're gonna cry your goddamn eyes out.
Pedialyte is one of the show's sponsors, actually.
Yeah, I love it. If you guys look, if you're a baby who has diarrhea or you're an adult and you're hungover, drink Pedialyte.
Talk to me about Maniacs. You were talking about that
Oh,
movie.
yeah, I'm excited to check out Maniac. But obviously, Jonah Hill and Emma Stone are incredibly talented. And for them to grace us on the small screen, what a privilege.
And this is like Cary Fukunaga's doing this one. And he is
he's
just
super talented.
Nombre and True Detective.
Yes,
Just an incredibly talented.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that show. I'm very curious what he did, because I don't know much about it, but I watched the trailer and I was like, oh wow, they're gonna jump around in a lot of places, which seems really neat. What else?
We'll go for one more. You mentioned.
How about a
Sisters,
movie? How about a
Brothers or
movie?
something?
What did I? What?
Did
What?
you mention Sisters, Brothers, or something? The Brother Sisters.
Oh yeah.
I think you were talking about that.
Yeah, but
we don't
really
need
care about that. Yeah, I don't really care about that.
Fair enough.
What? Oh, there was something else that I wanted to. I feel like. Give me 1 second to think.
Sure.
I've got so many things that I'm. Oh, Pulp Fiction. What a great movie.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah. You guys, if you haven't seen it, go check out the movie Pulp Fiction. It's starring these two up-and-comers, Bruce Willis, John Travolta, Uma Thurman, Ving Rhames. Ving Rhames also is the voice of Arby's. So if you want to check out the Arby's commercials, Ving Rhames does the voiceover for that. He does a great job.
At this point, Nick, I'm going to stop playing the music. It's like,
check out Arby's commercials. They do a great job. And also, if you have the opportunity, go listen to Joe Rogan interview Elon Musk.
Yes.
The podcast. People are stuck on just Elon Musk taking a hit of pot.
There was more to it than
There's
that.
a lot more to it. He's digging tunnels under LA, guys.
Nick,
check it out.
I want you to stick around for the rest of our life.
You got it.
Thank you so much for being here.
I have nowhere else to go.
On the IMDb show.
The cops are at my house. They're waiting. They're about to bust me for. I have 8 pounds of cocaine in my room right now.
Well, listen, I'm going to let you get back to the business that pays.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.